Hindi ako sinasabing bumoto kayo sa akin. I pray to God that the nation will be enlightened by His grace and you can choose the leader. Bahala kayo kung sino. The one who can make it happen. If yung dito sa mga tabi ko, they're worthy. And they can make it happen, I suppose. Pero ako, pag sinabi ko, ang mga Dabawen nyo sanay nito, pag sinabi kong huminto ko dyan. Pag sinabi ko siya, gagawin ko dyan, ginagawa ko talaga. Even at the expense of sometimes. But it could be at the expense of honor, or the prestige, or the presidency. Wala akong pakialam. Basta ako may trabaho at gagawin ko. Yung tanim-tanim ng bala, hintuan talaga nyo yan. Unless you are ready to swallow the bullet. And I will make you do it. Kung hindi nyo alam yan, pupunta kayo ng Davao. Marami ng coin doon sa Central Bank na kinakain sa mga na hindi maniwala. I'm a very impatient man. Wala nga akong ipagyabang eh. Pagyabang ko, trabaho lang. I never made any greatness. Wala akong recognition sa school. Hanggang high school, 75 lang lahat. Okay lang yan. Pero noong na-abogado ako, medyo matino na ako. And I've learned so much reason, but I will not dwell into so much about yung the niceties of life. If it is the interest of the nation, I will do it. And finally, I'd like to thank Alan Peter Cayetano, my vice presidential candidate, for joining me, for accommodating me, and ask him to join me. Maraming salamat po. The credentials of a summa, of cum laude, I was not even an honor during my time. Taman-taman lang ho. But awa naman ng Diyos sa amin. We are just migrants to Mindanao. Of course, my mother is a Mindanaoan. Ang pangako ko sa inyo ito. Droga, papaniksikapin ko and suppress it to the minimum. Kung hindi ko kayang wala. Criminality, which is surrounding the urban areas and even the countryside. Alam mo, pati droga umabot na sa bukid. Pinapagbibilihan na nila yung mga anak ng farmers. And they get the carabaos and the pig. You know, galit talaga ako. Sabi nila na mamamatay tao ako. Baka talaga. Ang hiningi ko lang, stop. And I will fix government. Corruption must stop. If I'm into the presidency for 2 weeks, tapos walang maniwala sa akin, walang susunod, then even if you give me 10 years, I will not be able to do it. Pero ako kasi sabi ko, ordinaryong tao lang ako, ayaw kong mapahiya. Kaya pag sinabi kong huminto kayo. And for those really, alam ko na, I have one word for all of government dito sa Pilipinas. Stop. S-T-O-P. Just stop. Just obey the law. And for the civilians, wala kong hihin. Sabi nila, may extrajudicial killing. It's not that. It's really the interest of the country. Gagawin ko po yan. I will stop corruption, walang droga. Kung maaari lang, maubos ko. Pati tao, okay lang sa akin. Sabay na sa droga. Criminality, gano'n rin. I will be harsh. And I'm warning you about in the horizon the coming of terrorism. Pareho yan. But I have to talk to the Mindanaoan people for peace. Hindi ito makaya kung anong usapan o gera. Kasi ito, historical ito. And even the NPAs, sabi nga ni Season, if I'm president of si Grace, he would come to talk. That is a welcome development. Wala akong hangarin except my country. And I pray to God.
Ito si Marcos ang gusto kong ma-impeach. Bakit? Bangag kasi. Wala siyang magandang isip.
Para sa akin si BBM.
Para sa akin si Sara. Bakit naman
Maraming
daw?
hindi na approve na ikukulong sa mga tinatawag na pagnanakaw sa
Marami
gobyerno.
yung pinatay yung mga Duterte. Ang
Yun lang
buhay
naman sa
mas
akin.
mahalaga sa pera.
Hindi, walang pagkain yung Pilipino pag ninakawan tayo ng pera ng ang mga taong bayan.
Nagpapakain si BBM.
Ma'am, kayo naman po, ma'am.
Nagpapakain si BBM. Okay na yun.
Siyempre si Sara.
Bakit, sir?
Walang ginawa yan, kundi maglapat sa lang yung...
Ang sa ano ko po, si Sarap.
BBM. Sabi niya, 20 ang isang kilong bigas. Isang butil pala, 20.
Ito ang tanggalin.
BBM po.
Daming kalukuhan ginagawa nito.
Kuha ko nga, ayun, yun ang tanggal niya. Magnanakaw yan eh.
For me, both.
Bakit po po?
Wala naman silang naitulong pare. Lalo na to.
Ang gusto ko matanggal ito. Maigi nga, hindi pa niya ito minamarshal. Pag minarshal, isasako ako lang sa kanya. Isako ko yung congressman senador, para wala na yung mga kurakot na yan
BBM.
Bakit si BBM, sir?
Massive corruption
Siyempre BBM.
Bakit po madam?
Panay salita, wala namang katotohanan lagi. Yung sabihin niya may nagawa siya, wala naman talaga. Inaantay nga, inaabangan wala.
Si Sarah po. Bakit Sarah po?
Kasi marami siyang mga hindi pa nasasagot na mga question about dun sa yung reason ng impeachment.
Pareho. Si Marcos. Daming evidence naman.
Siya.
BBM, bakit niya?
Hindi, basta lang, yun lang.
Pares lang naman nila hindi ginagawa yung tungkulin nila sa gobyerno.
BBM po. Bakit po?
Di ba alam na natin kung sinong tinutukoy tapos di naman nakukulong.
Pareho lang.
Bakit, sir?
Si PBBM. Kasi parang hindi namin naramdaman. Lalong naghihirap yung mga taong bayan.
Si Marcos.
Bakit po si Marcos?
Siyempre, hirap ng buhay ng tao.
Ito po, si kasi di ba, alam naman nating lahat yung ginawa nila. Corruption kasi ang dapat malutas dito sa Pilipinas.
Ito!
Sino ba ang gusto mo tanggal? Ako ito! Ako ito! Ay, di pares na tanggal.
Si Sarah or si BBM? Si Marcos. Bakit po si Marcos ang dapat makapag?
Wala naman nagawa sa Pilipinas. Binuto ko yan.
Si BBM. Bakit, sir?
Ito, ito po. Di siya karapat-dapat sa natin, bansa.
BBM.
Bakit po?
Sayang nga yung boto ko sa kanya eh. Kasi marami akong mga nababalitaan sa kanya.
Ay, si Marcos. Kasi sabi na yung pangako niya na yung bigas daw na 20 pesos, hindi naman niya natupad.
Bot.
Ay, hindi po. Yung ma-impeach po. Tingin niyo ma'am sa dalawa po.
Ito.
Sino gusto niyong tanggalin?
Yan. Si BBM.
Para sa akin, si Sarah.
Dapat patalsikin mo.
Ako may kapangutanan nito eh.
Sarah.
Para sa akin po, si BBM.
Ako, napakahirap na salon niya lang. Kasi dito ako Kay Sara Duterte ako
Sino po yung dapat
Matanggal.
Si BBM.
Siyempre, kurakot yan.
Bakit?
Ito siyempre.
Bakit po?
Di ba maraming ito? Gusto ko ito, ma-impeach.
Pareho. Though may ginagawa naman yung isa, very consistent. However, the qualifications, hindi. Itong isa walang ginagawa.
Si Sir muna. Sir, ikaw muna.
Tingnan mo naman yung budget natin ngayon. Yung kapatid niya, yung pinsan niya, bakit hindi ma-impeach? Diba si Romaldes, tapos yung gasolina natin ngayon, napakamahal. Oo, tricycle driver rin ako. Pero yung gasolina natin, like pa yung pandemic. Tapos tricycle kami driver, yung pamasahe na hindi tumataas. Ganun pa rin. Tapos yung gasolina, taas. Dapat ampere. Pag tinaas yung gasolina, tataasan mo rin yung pamasahe. Nagdagan mo ng piso, 2 piso. Paano mabuhay yung tricycle driver? Gasolina namin, 700. Kikita ka ng 400. Paikot-ikot ka. Kaya minsan pag tutulak na magpalusong. Hindi kayo one-sided lang. Nagtaas ka, tapos yung nasa baba, hindi mo tinasan. Paano mabubuhay? Kaya ang tao, puro galit sa kanya. May kakatuwa mo. Puro tulad sa inyo, kumakain rin kayo. Kami kumakain rin kami. Yung mga pamilya rin kami anak. Tapos sila, pansinin mo yung mga pera nila na mali-malita. Kami, wala nga kahit envelope. Kahit pareya, wala. May iwan nga na 10 piso sa tricycle. Hanapin pa.
So, naniniwala kayo, sir, na
Dapat siya ma-impeach.
involved si PBBM
Oo.
sa mali-malitang pera?
Siya naman talaga Unang-una, bakit yung pinsan na si Romandes? Anong ginawa niya? Kung hindi ka konsyentidor. Pakita mo sa tao kung ano. O walang, si Hirap sabi, walang kumpare, walang kamag-anak. O bakit siya? Alatado kahit bata tanungin mo ngayon. Mga bata ng grade 1, grade 2. Ramdam mo. Sa mga kabataan pa lang ngayon, magtatanong ka. Ramdam yung kahirapan niyo.
Si Sarah, pwede siyang ma-impeach.
Pero si BBM pwede rin dahil sa mga sinasabi niya tungkol sa gera ngayon, ha? Sa gera ngayon kasi hindi mo pwedeng pabayaan yung mga tao natin sa labas eh. Ngayon, yung sinabi niya na ipapabayad lang daw yung mga tao natin sa labas. Paano mangyayaring ibayad yun? Ano yun? Oversee yun. Kaya minsan, may ano rin pala yung sa tawag dito, sa yung flood control, alam ko nasama rin siya eh. Nasama rin siya sa flood control. Kaso nga lang, na-avoid niya dahil presidente pa siya. Si Sara kasi bumitaw, di ba? Ng kabisi. Kaya ang tingin ng tao, si Sara dapat na impeach. Pero para sa akin, si Bong eh.
Si Bongbong para sa iyo. Bakit si Bongbong?
Kasi may mga tinatago siyang tao na ayaw niyang ipahuli. Para siyang yung naging protection ng mga tao. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin mahuli yung mga taong kinakasuhan dahil hindi niya pa rin pinapabalik dito. Yun yung gusto kong ipahiwatig sa iba.
Thank you, Kuya. Salamat.
People are asking if your speech recently at the United Nations Human Rights Council was an AI-generated video. They don't
Yes, I'm AI.
yeah, they don't believe that the speech existed, and they're calling it fake. Now, what is your response to those allegations?
Well, maybe they think it won't happen, and they don't believe what is going on. But basic thing is that human rights is not the only regional thing, right? And okay, if they want to believe that the AI, that's going to be okay because they don't understand.
Sir, as a Japanese citizen, what motivated you to speak out on the case of former President Rodrigo Duterte? What was the tipping point, or what was the reason behind, sir? What motivated you?
Okay, as a human rights activist and a researcher, I also domestically, I'm helping a lot of foreigners living in Japan, right? Because I mean, now in France, okay? Now in France, living in France right now, if I'm staying in France, I have so many difficulties just because this is a foreign country to me, right? So, but there are many friends who are helping me, and I don't feel any threat here, and I'm staying here comfortably. Even in Geneva, same thing. It's because this is a part of the area in France, but France and Switzerland is next to each other, right? So it takes about 20 minutes to go to the United Nations from here. Anyway, so I've been helping the people, many Filipino in Japan also, and Vietnamese or Sri Lankans, many other people across the world, and that's one of the reasons. And some, women who got married with Japanese man and abused or, became the victim of the domestic violence. So the people comes to me to talk and explain and asking to solve the problem. So I've been working for this about more than 10 years to help the foreigners in Japan out. So that's one of the things. And some of the Filipino who used to be the victim of the domestic violence brought my attention, and I start listening to her and their group of people, and then finally I decided to talk because President Duterte is really admired by the majority of the Filipino people. And this injustice, I cannot take this injustice of the person, and especially over 80 years old. He doesn't have a long time anymore, so we need to do something. That's my motivation that I start doing this.
Thank you, sir. Sir, what specific concerns that led you to raise this issue before the United Nations Human Rights Council? Many people have admired the points that you've raised in your recently concluded speech.
Yeah, because nobody else is defending other than the Filipino people. But this is not a domestic issue. This is a totally international issue, and this is a human rights issue. And as a human rights defender at the United Nations, first of all, if you want to bring some issues to the United Nations, at least you have to try to solve the problem within the country, right? This is the basic rule. And so that means, if you do everything within the country and even cannot solve the problem, then you are allowed to bring the issue to the United Nations. So this is a basic rule of the United Nations. So if you are not doing properly within that Filipino judicial system, then it is violating to use the international body like ICC or Interpol or United Nations. So I found this problem is not discussed within the Philippines and then directly brought it to the Interpol or ICC. So this is totally injustice, so which I cannot accept. That's the reason why I brought it to the United Nations.
Sir, specifically, you've mentioned concerns about Philippine sovereignty in your speech
Yes.
at the UN. How exactly do you believe that the Philippine sovereignty was not upheld or upheld in the case of the former President Duterte?
First of all, here the Filipino domestic court, they don't discuss anything, right? Nobody brought it to the court. So, but ICC is talking about Duterte. This is totally nonsense. You have to discuss or you have to, if you want to criminalize him, you have to bring it to the court first for evaluation or, to investigation. However, they didn't do it. And they just surrendered to ICC. So that means ICC is superior than Filipino sovereignty. This is wrong. Okay, so the matter or internal affair of the Philippines have to be decided by Filipino, not the ICC. Okay, so is the ICC is above your Supreme Court in Philippines? No, I don't think so. That's what I'm thinking.
Sir, a lot of people are asking if your speech recently at the United Nations Human Rights Council was an AI-generated video. They don't
Yes, am I AI?
Yeah, they don't believe that the speech existed, and they're calling it fake. Now, what is your response to those allegations?
Well, maybe they think it won't happen, and they don't believe what is going on. But basic thing is that human rights is not the only regional thing, right? And okay, if they want to believe that the AI, that's going to be okay, because they don't understand what really going on the ground, and the human rights is not a joke. So we are taking it seriously, and if it is serious, we should not use the AI. So I'm just laughing, because there is no other choice for them to say AI, because maybe I'm the big obstacle for them, to the people of the anti-totality group. So
Sir,
it's very amusing. Very amusing, yeah.
Sir, how would you describe the support for the former president, especially Filipinos there in Japan, not only in Japan, in major countries in Asia, in US, in Europe, in all of those countries where there are Filipinos? The former president was really beloved by the Filipino community in anywhere of the globe.
Yeah. I have a very good impression when the President Duterte met our emperor in Japan. And he behaved very good. and Japanese people really appreciate it. Okay, and what he does, I found majority. Even I searched on the internet about the approval the rate of the Duterte is very overwhelmingly high compared to the current administration. So this is a public voice, or so I think I need to support. I thought I need to support the people in Philippines. That's what it is. And also, many Filipinos living in Japan now saying that I fear to go back to Philippines, although I feel very bad, but it becomes very dangerous, and the people are killed in the street, and we cannot work in the night, work around the street on the night, while the President Duterte was in office. The people were very safe, and they could move freely. So this is a public voice. So I thought that we need to protect the Duterte and also entire Philippine people. That's the reason I did it.
So you've said in your speech at the UN Human Rights Council that the fate of the former President Duterte was all because of politics. How do you say so, sir?
Yes. Yes, that's all politics, because the current administration was the one who handed the President Duterte to the ICC. Means current administration authorized to arrest him and deport him, or extradite him to ICC. That's what it is.
Sir, if your appeal to the ICC through the UN Human Rights Council will not be acted upon, what will be your next steps?
Actually, I was thinking to hold a kind of conference within the Japanese society, first of all, to have kind of to support, or this is injustice. So not support the Duterte, or not supporting the Duterte. It's nothing to do with the support, but this is injustice. So we have to counter with the injustice. So I was thinking to have a conference in Tokyo, or Congress building, gathering with the Filipino people, Filipino society, or group of people in Tokyo.
What is your message to the Filipino people that
Message
are
to
watching?
Filipino people.
That is watching closely the issues hounding the former president in the International Criminal Court.
Okay, so the people in the Philippines and Filipino society and abroad, please stay strong and unite each other, because your voice is most important things, and maybe we can change the narrative which was manipulated by certain power. So we need to stay strong, and I commit to do whatever I can do for you, your people. The reason is because Prime Minister Abe, who were assassinated, unfortunately, but he's the only one who was invited to Mr. Duterte, President Duterte's home as a friend, right? So this is one of the reasons that I admire President Duterte. And now he's in a very bad shape, in a very bad health condition. So we really need to get him out of the jail, and he doesn't deserve to be in the jail. He deserves to be back to Philippines to get the medication, or preferably I want to take to Japan to get the medication in Japan, so that he will be safe. That's my take, and that's a message to the Filipino people.
With that, sir, thank you so much for your time, and God bless.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so magandang araw sa aking mga kababayan. Recently, may nagsalita sa 61st United Nations Human Rights Council sa Geneva. Isa siyang Hapon, no? Na naging kaibigan ko na rin, nakilala ko siya, si Fujiki-san, at nagsalita siya tungkol sa extraordinary rendition ni Philippine President Rodrigo Roa Duterte at ipinaglaban niya ang karapatan ni PRRD. Mahalagang mahalaga ito, and we're very grateful that he has given us some time so that we can interview him. Si Fujiki-san ay isang human rights advocate at isang researcher ng Asian history at isa siyang journalist din. So without further ado, Fujiki-san, maybe you would like to greet first our viewers, no?
Oh, thank you very much for having me to your program.
Yeah.
And I'm very much grateful that so many warm messages were written to my speech or my intervention at the United Nations. So I appreciate to everybody who support my activities.
Yes, Fujiki-san, it has gone crazy viral.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
yeah, I know you didn't expect it, no? Because it's because you did something very important for the Filipino people. We've been this grave injustice towards a highly beloved president, no?
Agreed.
It no longer is a domestic issue. It is an international issue because it involves now the International Criminal Court, and of course, because it is a crime against humanity, what was done against him by the sitting president, Bongbong Marcos. He weaponized the ICC against a highly beloved president, and for political and nefarious reasons. So, Fujiki-san, if you don't mind, how did you find out about this issue?
Oh, very good question. First of all, even after the term Duterte administration, he has a great influence over the whole nation compared to the current administration, right? So current administration is very much fear about influence of the Duterte, although Marcos is the president, but still the people are not thinking that he's a legitimate president, although he was elected. So this is one of the reasons that Marcos is trying to do something against Duterte. And now Duterte is really facing a hard time. But I think he is aware of it, and he know from the beginning what will be happen. But he put his life on the line for the country. So he's a real man.
Yes,
that's
correct.
Yeah.
Fujiki-san, his war on drugs, which is the point of contention, the issue that was being raised by Bongbong Marcos is actually a legitimate government program that was highly popular, highly successful, so that somewhere like 88 to 96% of Filipinos approved of it, because we really experienced the benefits in our life. For the first time, crime rates were cut into half for the first 6 months.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, I'm taking care of the Filipino community in Japan, right? And recently, they start saying that we don't want to go back to my home country.
Yeah.
So I asked them why. Then because while the Duterte was in power, the environment in the country was very safe. Even in the nighttime, working on the street is harmful. But now it's very dangerous, and the murder and killings are going on the street. Although some Japanese are also victimized.
Yes.
While there, so. This is a very shameful things for the Philippines, and also Philippines is recently considered as a terrorist supporting nation by Australia. This is totally wrong, and this is prayed by the current administration. If Mr. Duterte is in power, then it won't happen. So everybody is scared, and Marcos is scared of Duterte, and the people are scared of going back home. So this is not a normal situation. This is a very, very, very bad circumstance. So we need to make it back or take the peace back in the country.
Fujiki-san, what makes it even more serious, no, is that there are a lot of serious issues against the ICC now. Recently, there was an expose by 18 former soldiers who were the bodyguards of the chair of the Appropriations Committee, and the expose involved the exchange of money with the ICC. No, in other words, they were wined and dined to the tune of $2 million. And one other issue, one other issue, Fujiki, is that the ICC has already been infiltrated by the communist terrorist organization, the CPP-NPA-NDF, which is the 17th deadliest terrorist organization in the world, so that you can see very actively, you can see the face of one of their operatives, Cristina Conti, and the CPP-NPA-NDF has already, when the ICC members came to the Philippines, they met with the top leaders of this terrorist organization inside prison, and it was arranged by Bongbong Marcos, his administration. So the ICC, therefore, what you did in the UN is very important, because the ICC is now being weaponized against the political foes, the political weapons of sovereign countries, and they take away our sovereignty. Fujiki, I loved it so much. We loved it so much when you spoke for us and you mentioned sovereignty. Could you please?
Yeah, that's right. It's the priority of sovereignty, definitely. Yes, yeah, because the internal politics of Philippines have to be decided by the Filipino people, not the other force. Right, and there, as you said, it's a weapon. Totally, they're weaponizing. And you see that President Trump of the United States, he said he will not fund to that, and he will not accept anything. And there is no jurisdiction over the United States. And on the other hand, President Putin, also wanted 9 judges and prosecutors as a criminal. Yes. And he issued an arrest warrant. See, so this is not, it's really illegitimate organization. And first of all, I'm going to the United Nations all the time, right? And I bring the issues which cannot be solved within the country. Okay, so you have to bring it to the local court, first of all, if anything happened. Then you have to fight up to the Supreme Court. Even the Supreme Court, the bad decision, then you can bring it to the international body like ICC or Interpol or the United Nations. Right? This is a basic rule. However, the Marcos administration broke this rule. There is no court cases, hearings are done in Philippines. Right, yeah. So that means Philippine court, ICC is superior than Philippine court, right? So that means there is no sovereignty on Philippines. So Marcos abandoned his sovereignty by himself. This is what I take.
Fujiki, the first characteristic of a sovereign nation is the presence of a strong judiciary. So basically, what Bongbong Marcos has admitted to the world is that there is no existing judiciary in our country that can try our own citizens. It is such an insult to this very strong
insult, and it's a betrayal.
It's a betrayal
for their whole people. Yeah.
Correct. Fujiki, it is at the very heart of it. It is treason. It is a betrayal of the Filipino people. No, but
exactly,
Fujiki, my question to you is, why are you getting involved? You're not a Filipino. Why does this interest you? Why have you spoken up for us?
Yeah, that's, as I said, all of a sudden the Filipino community in Japan is talking about, we don't want to go back to home country. So that is the worst things, because normally, you want to go back because they're the worker working in Japan for their own country, right? Or to take care of their own family in Philippines. This is a very hard things. Some women or a man, they are separated from the family in Philippines and working in Japan for their for family, right? But they say it's really, fearful, or it's really dangerous to going back home. So I was thinking, we have to do something, because, they are not proud of their country anymore at this moment.
Yes.
So I've listened a lot of outcries, from the Filipino society in Japan. So I was thinking, what should I do? What can I do? And then, as I said, I'm regularly, 1 year time. Within the 1 year, I'm traveling here in Geneva at least 3 times to 6 times in a year to attend Human Rights Council meetings or treaty bodies meetings. So maybe I can bring it to the attention from the international society, because this should not be happen. And as I said. Bongbong Marcos is abandoned their own people, their own judicial system, and then just surrender to the ICC. Okay, so he's saying that what means is he's saying that he just wants to be a leader, but no responsibility. We don't do anything, right?
Yes.
Claim-
Fujiki-san.
Yes.
Bongbong Marcos did not run to serve the Filipino people. He ran to steal.
I understand.
Yeah, he ran to steal from the Filipino people and to stay longer in power than our constitution allows. Also,
As his father did.
As his father did for over 2 decades. And
right.
On top of that, Bongbong Marcos has a substance abuse disorder, a very serious substance abuse disorder. So he is not fit. He is not fit in any way to lead our country. And the way I see it, you're having spoken out in an international forum. Internationalizing this issue is of great value because it really affects the entire world. If you go to the ICC, you're not going to see Benjamin Netanyahu. You're not going to see Putin, right? You're going to see leaders of African nations, and you're going to see Rodrigo Roa Duterte. In other words, there is a colonial bias. No,
exactly.
Right. So it really has nothing to do with justice, because they themselves have violated their own laws, their own rules, the Rome Statute. They violated it. Now, very clearly, the former president didn't face a local court, and he wasn't even given a copy of the warrant of arrest of the ICC. All of this, and he was forcibly pushed inside the plane. No.
I understand. As long as Marcos did not give the permission to their law enforcement, then Duterte was not arrested. Means Bongbong Marcos accepted or give the order to the authority to arrest him and hand it to the ICC.
Fujiki-san, the ICC themselves said so. It was Bongbong Marcos, the Marcos administration, that surrendered an ordinary citizen to them, and they had no choice because he was already there. So it was the Marcos administration that surrendered a Filipino. It's so serious. Fujiki-san, my question to you: would the Prime Minister of Japan, Sanae Takeuchi, would she do this? Would she surrender a Japanese citizen?
No, it will never happen. Never happen.
It will never happen, right? Why is that?
Right.
Why?
Because we are a sovereign nation, we have a judicial system, and government have to protect their own people.
This would not have happened, right? Never.
No.
Fujiki-san, after having lived here for a year in Japan, because I am in exile, what I've noticed also, a lot of things will not happen in Japan. The theft of trillions trillions upon trillions of yen by the Marcos administration will not happen here. It will not happen.
Right.
So anyway, what is the next step, Fujiki-san? What happens after this? What can the Filipinos expect after that speech? How was it accepted in the UN when you were there after your speech?
I tell you one thing. You know, the worker at the United Nations are not permitted to speak with us. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as there is an authority. Okay. But a couple of Filipino people came close to me and saying thank you, and then leave. Right. So now that's the real reaction at the ground, even in the United Nations. So the workers at the United Nations from Philippines always appreciate me. This is not the first time. You know, actually, I brought issue a couple of, I think last year or before last year, right, about the Philippine attacked by China.
Yes.
Okay, so I brought that, you know, brief speech of the issue to in my speech, as you know, along with the other issues. Just I mentioned the Philippines was attacked by the China, and then again some of the workers came and saying that thank you. Then they leave. Means, you know, they cannot talk, but that they just want to express their appreciation, right? So I found that, you know, they are in trouble, real trouble.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that I need to do something, and then this is the first time that I brought mainly for this Philippine issue. That was not the main, but you know, in the context of the Chinese aggression at the time.
Fujiki-san, you told me a story before we started. You told me about your computer had a glitch. Could you run us by that? Because I'm really surprised because you pulled it off really well. So maybe you can tell our listeners what happened.
Okay. Well, you know, while I had a script to talk, you know, which I made. And normally I open up my computer and based on that, I start speaking, right? However, in the middle of my speech, okay, intervention, my computer flows. That's not happening in before or after, okay? Even after that, I had two interventions about the Pakistan issue and so on, okay? Not only I'm not only handling the Philippine issue, but some minority people in the Pakistan called Balochistan. Okay, so they are really suppressed by the government and they are killed by the government. So I cannot accept these activities by the government, who has a superpower over their own people. So, and then my computer or software flows. So I was, you know, if you see the video that I posted, it looks. Somehow it's natural, okay. But if you see the recording from the United Nations, I cut the blank, but there are some blank phrase because I was struggling to you know, put the computer back on work. So that's happened. This is a serious problem I had, but you know, I thought that, you know, I need to finish the speech, otherwise, you know, there is no more chance at the time. So I said to myself, you know, calm down to myself. and then I finished talking.
Fujiki-san, you delivered it really well.
Thank you very much.
It reminds me of the Goethe quote. He said, "Be bold, and mighty forces shall come to your aid." So you delivered it really well. The very important points came out.
Right.
So,
right. But in the future, even in the future, you know, whatever I can do to get to tell the back to home, this is totally inhumane things, you know, separated from the family, and they are blaming, you know, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, there is a Filipino NGO who are having a side event in the United Nations building. Okay, so I just paid visit there, and then I was listening to what they have to say. And they are saying, we are victimized by Duterte because my elder brother was killed by the Duterte administration, and so on and so on. So I questioned, you know, why your brother was killed, right? And the Duterte made a rehabilitation center or something like that to rehabilitate these drug addicts. And he gave them a couple of chances to rehabilitate it, but still they keep on using the drugs. Okay, and that's the consequence they have to face. And to make the other people not to harm the other people, other citizens, majority of the citizens, right? And then I questioned them why. Then they say, my elder brother was killed because of the drug and so on. So I said, first of all, who violated the law or the law?
Yeah.
Right. So you are now trying to be a victim, but actually, basically, your brother was the offender to the other people.
Yes.
So you have to consider. Don't be, it's kind of hypocrisy of these people. But I cannot accept it as long as your brother did not use the drug, then it didn't happen, right? So you have to think, and you have to apologize to the country that my brother was using illegal drug, so-called illegal drug, right? But they don't feel that way. Oh, my brother was murdered and so on by the Duterte administration. This is wrong,
Because
and also there are some criticisms from the other countries, okay? Because with that trial, some were shot. But if you see the United States, for example, look, they are not bringing the criminal to the justice. They just shoot at the site, right? So it's the same thing. Because in order to protect the majority, sometimes it's happened, and they are the criminals violating the law. So in order to protect the majority or the citizen or countryman, then there should be some strong force over the criminals to crack down.
it seems like because PRRD, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, was a man of the law. So if you don't follow the law, there are consequences, as it ought to be, But in other countries, my opinion is that, because I go to the US back and forth, no, it's so heartbreaking to see Skid Row, where you see children, drug addicts, their lives wasting away. And my opinion there is that the government has failed them, because they can buy drugs, they can shoot drugs in front of a police, and nothing's done. There are no arrests, there are no rehabilitations, nothing. No, so and what the enemies of PRRD refuse to discuss are the victims of these drug addicts and these drug lords and these drug syndicates. As a doctor, I can tell you, Fujiki-san, the emergency room before PRRD became president was a bloodbath. When a drug addict stabs a baby, it's not just one stab; it's 64 stabs. And they don't want to talk about those things because they have a political agenda against PRRD. My question to you, Fujiki-san, is why is it that Japan doesn't have that kind of problem, not in the magnitude that we've seen in other countries?
That's a good question. It's actually it's morality or ethics in the countries, and most importantly, education. So
Chiki, I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to interrupt because I always ask this question to a lot of my Japanese friends. Why are the Japanese so different? Why are they very moral? No, and it's really the upbringing, the culture, the Bushido, the Buddhism and Shintoism, that sort of thing. It's deeply embedded. No, so go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
In the world, there are 3 countries which were not colonized by the white power.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the one of the 3 is Japan. All right. So from the founding of the country till now, we have just one blood, Japanese, and Impeah is also one blood. So, and if you see their Impeah's house or Impeah's palace, there is no defense, defense equipment surrounding
Yeah.
that. But if we, I mean, in France right now, okay, I'm in France, there are many castles that is standing on the hill, on the mountain. Why? Because they fear the enemy. But our emperor doesn't need to fear the enemy, because emperor is always playing the peace for the people, peace for Japan, peace for world. Okay, so this is the backbone of the whole Japanese people.
Yeah.
All right. So historically, we listen to what the emperor is playing for, right? And this is emperor is play. Our emperor doesn't have any human rights. Although I am a human rights activist, he doesn't have any choice of the work, any choice of the. He cannot go to the drinking bars freely. He cannot go to see the movie, enjoying the dating, and so on. No way. And even he doesn't have passport. No human rights. Okay. Oh, but yet he is praying every day, because he is the top of the Shintoism, right? Just every day. So we know it, and we are very much blessed by emperor and ancestors. So this is one of the high standard model in Japan, I guess.
Fujiki-san, so what touches me profoundly, about the leaders in Japan, the emperor as well as the prime ministers and the ministers, is their humility. They're very
Right.
humble, and of course their honor, their integrity. So my question to you, Fujiki-san, is what will happen if one of your leaders was caught stealing, the way Marcos has been caught stealing?
In that case, we will be our government will use the full force to take them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
you mean to say, Fujiki-san, because right now in the Philippines, the senators there, Ping Lacson and Tito Soto, and the entire government is being used to cover up for Marcos.
Okay.
So will that happen in Japan? A cover up?
No, it won't happen.
It's impossible.
Technically, no possible. It's not possible. Corruption. We don't have much corruption. Although there are little corruptions going on, but once if we find it, then they will be seriously punished in Japanese society. Okay, so mostly corruption is not going on. And also, one thing that I have to say, Philippines is a very wealthy nation, basically, because we have an abundant supply of the minerals, right? Minerals and also natural resources rich.
Yes.
If compared to Japan, we don't have any. Yeah. We all rely on the import, oils and gas and minerals, everything. Okay, so we really envy you. However, the reason why your government or your country is like this situation is because the corruption, only the corruption, right? You used to be a very wealthy and also a very hardworking people. And we have so many common with Japanese and Filipinos, very common a way of thinking. And also you are Christian nation, right? So at least the morality or ethics or learn from the Christians, like even a Catholic or a Protestant, it doesn't matter. The moral standard, the bottom line of the moral standard. So you are very much educated, right? Philippine people are very much educated, yet they cannot get any good return because they're not protected by the government. But while the Duterte administration, Duterte was trying to make a lot of shelters to put those homeless people or poor people to have a better life, and that's what he did. And our Abe, Prime Minister Abe was the only world leader invited to his home. And if we see his home is not like a palace. It's just like a normal home, right?
Yeah.
But he gave he invited Abe that is very heartwarming things that we appreciated President Duterte. And
Yeah, Fujiki-san. So I want to go back to
Mhm.
the question of corruption in government, because what we have been exposed to in the Marcos administration is nothing short of shocking, really shocking. The depth and what I noticed about the Japanese people is your capacity to feel shame. No?
Oh yeah, that's
And
true.
what I see now with the ones who are seated in power in this Marcos administration is their total and complete incapacity to feel shame. And I read somewhere, and I agree, that the capacity to feel shame presumes an ounce of nobility, some nobility in you. So if you don't have any nobility, you will not have any capacity for shame.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
this
I
is
agree.
what really amazes me living here in Japan, is that it's so consistent. We in the Philippines, because in the Philippines, Fujiki-san, it's become normal to criticize people in government as being corrupt. And it is true. It is true. But Filipinos, ordinary citizens, are also corrupt. Otherwise, I believe that your leaders are a reflection of who you are. So I don't want to waste this opportunity that has cost us so much pain of
Oh
having
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the worst example of a human being to lead us. I think that it is a reflection of who we are as a people.
Right.
What amazes me about the Japanese people is the Japanese society is that it is not money driven.
Yeah, but every country man and woman need to try to make the country better. Okay. For example, in the case of Philippines, for example, if you are caught or by the police by overspeeding, okay, so normally we get a ticket. Whatever the situation is, we get a ticket and we have to pay the penalty, right? And we cannot give any money to the police officer, right? But in Philippines, you can just hand over their money to the officer. Then the officer closes their eyes, and then children are watching it. My parents are paying the money, while overspeeding, and then that's it, right? So this is a kind of education to the kids, and when the kids becomes adult, again the kids do the same. So you have to stop that kind of habit to a certain point, right? Because bribery is the worst things, and your wealthy country became, corrupt country right now. So I feel really bad. So education is the most important things. Even you started right now, it's going to affect after 20 years, 30 years. But if you don't start it now, then it will not happen in the future.
So, Fujiki-san, may I please go back to the speech in the UN? Okay.
Oh, okay.
How did it happen? How did it happen that you could speak there? And why?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I've been participating to the United Nations Human Rights Council as well as the treaty bodies meeting because Japan was attacked by China and Koreans and North Koreans and so on in the historical issues, which actually did not happen according to my investigation, but they are using United Nations as a weapon and tool to attack Japan. So I was thinking, what's going to happen? Then I traveled to the United States National Archive to see their, the documents during the World War II, and like a comfort women issue. Okay, there is it, and some people left the comment, and this guy is the comfort women denier. I'm not denying the comfort women. Okay, they are existing. I did not deny the existence of the comfort women, and at that time, if you see their past things by current eyes, then so many weird things happen, right? So there are comfort women existing. However, they are not a sex slave. They are well-paid prostitute, even from the National Archive official document from the United States. But they changed the narrative to attack Japan, so that they use the slave with the word slave. Okay, so in that case, in United Nations, we have white guys, black guys. They are very sensitive about the word slave. Okay, so they that's why they took it very seriously. So, and then what happened with that the Duterte term? Okay, when the Duterte was in the office, there was a comfort woman statue elected in part of the Manila. Okay, and Prime Minister Abe requested this is not accurate. You know, the what is mentioned on the plaques is not accurate. They are not the sex slave. They are sex workers. Okay, well-paid sex workers. So please remove it. So in the detail, they said one day in the night time that was removed by somebody, and then the reason was, oh, there is a we have to do some construction on the gas. So this is what the President Duterte did, and you know, we applauded President Duterte because he did the right thing, right? And then also, then
Fujikisan,
I was, yeah.
May I interrupt about that issue, the comfort women issue?
Mhm.
This is where the CPP, NPA, NDF, the terrorist organization, has a front. It's called Gabriela. Gabriela is a
Gabriela.
front of the terrorist organization, and they radicalized the youth so that they
Yeah.
can recruit them into the armed conflict. So this
I
is one
see.
of their issues. This is one of the issues that they brought out, and they really agitated the youth so much so that they could recruit and so that they could raise funds, and they were able to. There were some reparations made, but when it was time to, they got the funds, but they did not give it to the supposed victims that they used.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they are the very ones behind the extraordinary rendition of PRRD, using the war on drugs, even making stories up. It's the same pattern. It's the same pattern. When I was working with the government, I also had to go to the UN. I spoke there about the CPP, NPA, NDF, and we saw with our very own eyes the propaganda that there was 27,000 EJKs, deaths by the war on drugs. But now look, they're now in the Hague, and they can't even come up with 50. Okay, so they hyperinflate, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing that they've done to this issue. Like you said, no, we're not denying that it happened, but they definitely lied about a lot of things to inflame, so that they could recruit, and then so that they could get some funds, because this organization is one of the biggest criminal syndicates in the world.
Okay.
And they are also, Fujiki-san, they are also inside the United Nations. They sit there and they represent the Philippines, and then they say all sorts of lies about the Philippine government so that they can recruit, and they can. But the sad thing is, the United Nations believes them. No, because they've been the deception is so complete, because they've been taking care of this relationship for a very long time. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, yeah. That's because of it's a weak point of the United Nations. They hires their so-called special rapporteur, means special reporter for United Nations, but that is appointed individually, not in a group of people. Okay, so if you bribe these people, then they will write something, whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
So this is happening, and then committee members or the council members, they're changing every 2 years, 3 years, right? So if somebody's bringing the comfort women issue, then they will bring back to the old document and saying that this is a sex slave, or they were tortured by the Japanese military and so on, right? So even after so many years, their narratives doesn't change because of this old document that they created.
Yeah.
Purposely created.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then after that, yes, so what you said is really right. And you know that the mechanism of the United Nations. So I totally agree what you're saying. And after that, I found so many issues, which is not the past issue. Comfort woman issue happened during the war, right? World War II, up to 1945. But there are so many, like CPP, there are so many peoples involved in the United Nations, much prior that we start going there. Since 40 years ago, Japanese left-wingers or Koreans and Chinese, certain part of the, those forces were in the United Nations, and they have office close to the United Nations too, to make a lobbying, right? So who is supporting this money, right? I'm coming to the United Nations by my own expense, own expense. Okay, of course, I have some small supporters, so they are supporting, but not much amount. However, because of the justice have to be, maintained. That's the reason why I start coming and keep on coming here over 12 years right now, right? By my own experience, and especially at this time,
Therefore, Fujiki-san, what you're saying is, no, it's of great value that your voice is heard, that you're there, because otherwise there won't be any counter narratives. Because
exactly,
a lot of people that go there, for instance, the CPP, NPA, NDF, a terrorist organization, is deeply invested in sitting there so that it legitimizes all their lies, right? So, and where do they get their funding, right? What you're saying.
right. Yeah, okay, I will tell you one thing. Okay, yesterday we had a side event in the United Nations. Right, we had a behold event, and about the Okinawa issue. Okinawa is island, southern West Island.
Yes.
And now the certain group of people are trying to put Okinawa into the decolonization list. So they now saying that Okinawa is a colony of Japan. So we brought formerly they are called Ryukyu Kingdom. So there was a king. Okay. So, and then their narrative is that Japan was forcefully annexed or conquered the Ryukyu. So we took the descendant of the king at this time, the attorney of the king, as well as their local assembly members and the pastor of the Christian church, leader of the pastors, and to counter them. And then while we are having side event, there is one Chinese lady in the room. Okay, definitely she's part of the Chinese government. Each time when I hold the side event, there is definitely Chinese monitoring it, and sometimes they question us. Right, so we witnessed it, and there definitely before we saw she opened the computer, and she has a kind of a chat app, okay, chatting with somebody, and she's reporting who talked, what, okay, that's what happened. And also whenever I comes to Geneva, I need to stop over one place. Okay, it means I have to transfer. And each time when I go through the immigration, I'm stopped and brought to the interrogation room for about 15 minutes every time. The reason is because on the year of 2020, Xi Jinping of China was trying was asking the Japanese government to invite him as a state guest, right? And so I totally leave. Abe was in Abe administration at that time, and then I found I got the information that Xi Jinping will coming to Japan as a state guest. So I made a speech as I did it today, the 11th of March. We Japanese are not welcome to having Xi Jinping as a state guest. If he can freely come to Japan without any trouble and to discuss with the government. However, state guest, this meaning is different. He's going to see the emperor of Japan and shake hand with the emperor. So I said, this bloodthirsty hand should not be touched to our emperor, because they are murdering, taking, they are harvesting the internal organ of the Falun Gong practitioners or Uyghurs and Tibet and so on. Okay, this is the human rights violation, typical human rights violation committed by the Chinese government. So we don't want, nobody wants, the Japanese don't want to come to Xi Jinping to have a state guest, right? So after I spoke it started. Okay, and I asked my government, well, how it's happened. Then maybe China is registered you as a criminal, or not the wanted person, but investigate a little more further. Okay, so I told the government, can you nullify it? And the government said no, because if the other way around, for example, Japanese wants to have a Chinese to be investigated, and if the Chinese government can nullify it, then nothing, this is meaningless. So we cannot do. And then I asked the security officer in the Amsterdam how it's happened. And then he said, this is not the request from the Dutch government, but the foreign government. Okay. And then he explained to me that it will be continued. When will it be end? Then he said it will be continued for a year because this validity is for a year. But if this country who reported is renewed again, then you will be on the list forever. So I'm on the list and I'm always interrogated. So I need to show my badge to accredited badge, ECOSOC badge to the officer, and also I present the documents and what I'm doing, right? So this is an intimidation. Also, this is also crime against humanity. They are violating the human rights of me. But we have to stand strong, and I don't care even. And one day, I'm in an apartment right now. Okay, I rent apartment, but in a couple of years ago, I rented another apartment, and then there is after I rent the place, somebody broke into the house and then put the 3 surveillance camera, very small one, into my room. Okay, then I have a very good friend here who is a very he's a kind of intelligent person. Okay, working for intelligence. And in a Sunday, I invited him to my apartment, and then first thing that he said is, "Shun, don't you feel very weird because there are 3 clocks which is exactly same model? One is in the kitchen, 2 is in a different angle at the living room." So I didn't think anything wrong, but yes, after he told me that, oh my gosh, this is a 3D. Normally we don't buy the same clock. Each room has a different clock, right? And I found there is a digital clock like this shape, and then I turn it over. There is a SD card in it, right? So everything's recorded. Then I brought it to the police in Geneva police, and then the criminal was arrested. So this is happening around me, right? So always intimidated.
Fujiki, this is the life that you've chosen. So right now,
that's right.
There are already reports by the Marcos trolls that your speech in the UN never happened. No,
Generated. Yeah, and the AI. Actually, you're talking to the AI, okay, generated guy, Android.
So I'd like you to clarify, because they're claiming that there is no official UN record. Is this true?
There is those people must be really ignorant. For example, if you go to the UN TV, for example, okay, just type UN TV, and there is a search box. Just type my name. So many videos that I spoke at the United Nations come up, right? So they must be stupid and ignorant.
Yes. The market is really stupid people, diba? It's not. That's the audience.
I found very amusing is that the person who is supporting Duterte is writing in Japanese or English, okay, and the anti-Duterte people are always writing in Tagalog. That's it. I can see the difference.
One other thing, the other claim is that there is no verified identity of Shunichi Fujiki. So
no, but
maybe you need
I'm
to
not
say hello
existing.
to them.
I'm not existing, right? Okay.
It's a phone. So this is the world. This is the life that you've chosen, Fujiki.
Yeah, that's right. I'm okay. This is my accredited card for United Nations, right?
Yeah.
This one. So without this, we cannot get in, first of all, and without permission, we cannot talk, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Fujiki,
this is what it is.
Yeah, Fujiki, we're about to wrap up, no?
Okay.
Before we wrap up, I would like to say, in behalf of the Filipino people, thank you, and I think in behalf of humanity, thank you for speaking up for us. No? Thank you.
You're very welcome.
For a president, maybe the only Filipino president who never stole from us and who served us really well.
Yeah, that's true.
Highly beloved Filipino people, and he he doesn't deserve what he's getting right now. No? So
Exactly.
on behalf
But
of the
he put
Philippines,
his
yeah, go
he
ahead.
put his life on the line to renew the country. Okay, so he's a brave man, and he knows the consequences from the beginning. But he's a real man, and he's trying to protect and dedicate it whole Filipino people. So
You know
this
what?
is a brave man.
Yeah, you know what, Fujiki-san, no? I worked
Yeah.
with him. So he would have speeches where he would say, you know, when I step down, they're going to come after me. But he said, but I don't care. I'll do what I need to do. So he is a
Right,
real
right.
man. So
Yeah, that's his choice.
yes. So any parting words, Fujiki-san, anything you'd like to say to the Filipino people who truly
Yeah.
love you and are truly
Yeah.
grateful for you?
Yeah, this time after my intervention at the United Nations, overwhelming support from the Filipino people, which I really appreciated. And so I hope the Filipino people need to stay strong and unite each other, and then help this helpless President Duterte to get to the home. This is things that so that we can. This is a democratic nation, democratic society, but democracy is now in danger. So only thing that you can do, the Filipino people can do, is to maintain the democracy. Okay, so the demand. I think we need to pull the current president down, because he's the enemy of Filipino people, and he's soiling the name of great Philippine. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say to the Philippine people. And really, we love the Philippine people. Okay, he is very kind. They are very kind and also very well, very hardworking people. So we have so many similarity, very similar. Okay, Taiwan is also very similar to Japan, but the Philippines is also very similar because we are a neighboring country. So we have to unite each other. And also one more thing, we are not having a nuclear weapon. You don't, and Taiwan don't, Korea don't. We should unite to protect ourselves, because we are surrounding in a very hostile nations like China, Russia, even United States or North Korea. Okay, so we are the peace-loving country, and as well the you are, right? So we have to unite, and Asian. We are Asian people, so we need to unite together. And our Philippines also unite very strongly to protect their liberty and also democracy. That's my message to the Philippine people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fujiki-san.
You're welcome.
I hope we can invite you again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very
Mabuhay ka.
much. Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Thank you to having me. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Ang bigwas ng agila, lakas ng bayan, tinig ng katotohanan.